Some consumers obviously want to grab their coffee, put it in their Mr. Coffee maker, go take a shower and have a cup of coffee afterwards, and then go to work and never want to worry about where their coffee came from or how it was produced. And I think the sad part of that is that you're really missing out on a lot of the story of coffee.
Coffee farmers many of whom have farmed coffee for generations, are suddenly faced with decisions that they've never had to make. As people on the other end of the supply chain, we think that that what happens to them won't affect us, but that's not true, and we see it in the migration crisis that's happening. We see it in the economic impacts of other countries. These things eventually will hurt. Climate change will eventually hurt us in much more drastic ways. Humans have caused this problem, and I think we can help fix it. We can keep it from getting worse. But it's going to take a total change of our perspective. For us, it's just a cup of coffee, and we'll feel it in ways that hurt, yes, but for tens of millions of people, growing coffee is how they put food on their table. It's the work that they know, and it's the work that they do, and in a lot of places it's the only work available. We're talking about families, entire families of people working from farm to farm, collecting and harvesting and sorting coffee, and these people are looking at some pretty dire futures.
An organization that stands for Students for Education Reform. It is a group dedicated to the equity of education for all kids, regardless of their race, socioeconomic status, or zip code. So we do a lot of organizing, a lot of fighting to ensure that we fight the inequities in the public school system, and one of those is definitely, as you see today, the nomination of Betsy DeVos. The Students for Education Reform Action Network has started a movement. It's called Students Resisting Trump. This is one of their actions, is to denounce the nomination of Betsy DeVos as the Education Secretary.
She isn't the right choice for Secretary of Education. She doesn't really have educational experience in an educational field. She wants to privatize public education, and she just overall won't be helpful to all of the children in America who need to get an education.
The Westerville Police Department are investigating a hate crime after an anti-Semitic slur and white nationalist flyers were found in neighborhoods throughout the city. The Westerville community was shocked, including Otterbein University Student Government President Jeremy Paul.
As somebody who has lived my entire life in Westerville, it's eye-opening. You always hear that this is everywhere and that things like this can happen to any community, but when you see it in your own community, it's a little hard to stomach.
The Westerville city government addressed the hate crime on their Facebook page, saying, "This does not reflect our Westerville, and this kind of intimidation will not be tolerated. Our community prides itself on acceptance, inclusion, and fairness for all." Student government is planning to fight back against racism on Otterbein's campus with the implementation of a diversity grant. This grant will support student organizations who want to hold events that educate and highlight diversity within the community.
The way that we can try to root out this hate is through education, and I think that our student organizations here at Otterbein are some of the best ways that we can do that.
This year's Chili Open, we're excited that it's going to support our OB clinic. So those dollars go directly to support programs, and the real reason for this is to support infant health. Those dollars really go to the community that we serve.
The partnership is amazing. Rotary is such a strong community organization, nearly 135 members of people who give back to the community. Our only focus is service to the community, and there is not a better partner who exemplifies those same goals and that same focus.
Funding is always a challenge, and so to be able to have proceeds, funding from the Chili Open through the Rotary support, or whether it's from our foundation or what have you for kind, generous donors, all those help to support and to maintain the quality of our program. We want to grow programs, we want to add new programs, and so that all requires some sort of financial support.